Are you tired of repeating the same unhealthy patterns in your relationships? Do you find yourself struggling to trust, constantly fearing abandonment, or maybe pushing people away even though you crave love? You're not alone, and it might be because of your childhood. Hi! Today we're diving into something that's deeply personal but incredibly powerful. How your childhood traumas might be shaping the way you experience love and relationships as an adult. We're talking about things like emotional abuse, neglect, physical abuse, sexual trauma, and witnessing domestic violence. And no, it's not just in your head. The impact is real, and it's time to understand why. Emotional abuse, the invisible wounds. Let's start with emotional abuse. Maybe you grew up in a household where your feelings didn't matter. You were called names, belittled, or dismissed. Emotional abuse might not leave scars you can see, but trust me, the damage is deep. How does this show up in your relationships? As an adult, you might struggle with low self-worth. You may find yourself constantly seeking validation from your partner, or pushing them away because you believe you're not good enough for love. You might even have a fear of being abandoned, believing that, just like in childhood, no one is really there for you. For example, if you were told you were stupid or not good enough as a child, you might now push people away, subconsciously thinking they'll leave anyway, so why let them get close? Or you might need constant reassurance, constantly asking, "Do you love me?" even when it's clear your partner does. Physical abuse, the lingering fear of harm. Now, let's talk about physical abuse. This is a whole other level of trauma, where actual harm was done to your body, whether it was hitting, slapping, or any form of violence. How does this show up in your relationships? As an adult, you might either become overly submissive or incredibly controlling. You could have a deep fear of physical harm, making it hard to trust your partner. Or you may have anger issues, feeling like you can't control your emotions when things get tense. Imagine constantly being on edge, like waiting for an argument to escalate. You might find yourself feeling threatened by your partner's tone or body language, even if they're not being aggressive. That's the trauma talking. It's the body and mind remembering the violence, and it doesn't know how to separate that from your current relationships. Neglect, the silent emotion. Emotional neglect is like being starved for affection. You might have grown up with parents who were physically present but emotionally distant. They might have never hugged you, asked about your day, or made you feel truly seen. How does this show up in your relationships? As an adult, you may struggle with emotional intimacy. You might push your partner away because deep down, you fear that showing vulnerability will just lead to rejection. Or maybe you become clingy, constantly needing attention, because you never got the emotional support you craved as a child. You could also find yourself in relationships where you're trying to fix your partner, subconsciously hoping they'll give you the love and attention you missed out on. This creates an unhealthy cycle of dependency or avoidance, neither of which lead to a healthy relationship. Sexual abuse, the hidden shame. Sexual abuse is a devastating trauma that can deeply affect your ability to trust, especially in intimate relationships. Whether the abuse happened at a young age or during adolescence, the effects can last a lifetime. How does this show up in your relationships? You may struggle with boundaries, feeling uncomfortable with physical closeness, or even sexual intimacy. You might avoid relationships altogether because the thought of being physically vulnerable brings up feelings of shame or disgust. Alternatively, some people with this trauma may seek out unhealthy sexual relationships, often unconsciously choosing partners who repeat the abuse dynamic. This is a subconscious attempt to reclaim power, but it only leads to deeper pain. It can feel like you're constantly on edge, watching for signs that your partner is pulling away, even when they're not.